Hi, I'm Echo, and I'd like to give you an update for what's going on in my church. So, as you guys know, I was kicked out of my church. The reason I was kicked out is because I have my blog, www.iamekho.com. And in my blog, I describe what it was like to be in a 5+ year relationship with someone with narcissistic traits. And to put this into perspective for those of you who haven't been following, my ex, who assaulted me multiple times, was arrested and even was charged and went through something called the violence diversion program, something they put people who engage in domestic abuse through, was the former president of the church. And when I say former, just to clarify, it wasn't like he was removed from his position. It was a termed position, a certain number of years. He fulfilled that term, and then his time was up. So he was a very popular person in this church. And whenever he assaulted me, he and his first wife, who was our RE director, recruited a bunch of flying monkeys to come and harm me. And so about a year and a half later, I start writing this anonymous blog about what people in the church, to include him, are doing to me. And my church found this blog, this anonymous blog describing what people in the church were doing to me. And they threw me out of my church because I wouldn't take it down. So right before Christmas, they came to me and tried to get me to sign what I call a gag order. I had to agree to take down my blog, not write anything bad or say anything bad in public about anyone in the church. So as a survivor of domestic assault, I'm not allowed to talk about it anymore. That's what they were trying to get me to sign. And I didn't agree to sign that. I said, no, why would I sign that? So on February 3rd, I got this letter in the mail, certified in the mail to me. And it is signed the president of the church. I know the president of the church did not write this. I have no doubt that she, completely agrees with what's written in here, but she didn't write it. And my lawyer doesn't think a lawyer wrote it. He said, there's no way a lawyer would write this. I'm leaning toward they did find some hack of a lawyer to write this. Not sure about that, but somebody wrote this. And the board president signed off on it. And it says it's from the entire church board and the Right Relations Committee. So what's in this letter? It says that the Right Relations Committee and the board have met to discuss my blog. So they read my blog, and my blog is about a survivor of many forms of abuse telling her story. It's an anonymous blog, and so she tells the story of the abuse she endured and how people in the church, some people in the church, not all the people, some people, certain people, didn't support her and further harmed her. So they read my blog, and they sided with the bad guy. It says, as we said in the recommitment to covenant letter, that was this gag order they tried to get me to sign, for there to be peace and healing in this congregation, we need to stop the cycle of recriminations. Your recent posts demonstrate you are not interested in that course of action and want to continue the cycle. My two most recent blog posts describe events that took place about a year ago, and they describe a board member sending out a defamatory email to the entire church cluster, which that means many churches in our region, and my lawyer actually having to get involved, write a cease and desist letter. The president of the board was appalled by this at the time. He is now gone. This is a new president. He was appalled by this, that the board member would do something like that. The interim minister we had was appalled that that board member would do something like that. They're both gone. They're no longer in the church. Almost everybody has resigned over this. So I described those events, and this board, which is very sympathetic to my abuser and his flying monkeys, is appalled that I would, through an anonymous blog, describe how these people harmed me. It says the two most recent posts continue to portray church members in highly negative light. I describe what the church members did to me. If that description portrays them in negative light, proper response might be to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing? I am acting in a very unethical manner to this woman. We are re-victimizing this woman. They don't do that. They didn't think about what they did. They're mad that I'm describing what they did. So instead of being mad at the person who committed the bad deeds, they're mad at the victim for through an anonymous blog describing what these people have done to her. Under a thin veil of anonymity, you describe numerous people you have encountered in the church in very uncharitable terms. Now, they all think that everybody knows who my blog is talking about. And I've said this before. We test this blog on many different audiences. Nobody knows who this is about. It is very well concealed. It is very well masked, this blog. But they think it's a thin veil because they know it's about them because they did these things. So they're reading what they've done to me. And they're like, oh my God, it's so clear that this person, she's talking about me and she's talking about my husband. She's talking about our former president. No one else knows that. So they're telling on themselves, basically. This is what it says. Members are concerned that you will represent them negatively in your blog. So again, rather than looking in the mirror and saying, maybe we shouldn't be harming this woman, maybe we shouldn't be re-victimizing this woman through gossiping about her, defaming her, both written and verbally, sending emails that are gossiping and defamatory about her, triangulating people, doing all kind of horrible things to her. Instead of saying, maybe we should stop doing that, they're concerned that I'm going to describe what they did, and I'm not going to make them look so great. Okay? Or that you will threaten them with legal action. So they're concerned about defamation. They should be concerned about defamation. That is an actual real concern they should have. But you know how you don't get sued for defamation? You don't defame people. So again, instead of looking in the mirror and saying, maybe we should stop, saying and writing untrue gossip and lies about her, they're come after me because I might sue them. That's like, I go and rob your house and the church is mad that you sue me for robbing your house instead of being mad at me for robbing your house. It's like I assault you and the church is mad at the victim for reporting the assault rather than being mad at the actual person who assaulted the victim, which is exactly what's going on in this case. They're not mad at the people that are harming me for their actions. They're mad that I'm talking about it and that I might sue them for that. Moreover, you told board members that you plan to publish this material more widely. I don't know that I told board members that. That might be a lie. I'm not sure. Whenever they came to my house, one board member came to my house and a Right Relations Committee member, we briefly talked about whether or not I think I would start a podcast, something like that. I seem to remember something along those lines. So, okay, apparently because I'm continuing to tell my story about how these people have harmed me, that means I'm out of covenant and need to be thrown out of this church. It says, these actions are not compatible with membership in this church. So, assaulting someone, that's compatible with membership in the church. Defaming someone, that's compatible with membership in this church. Re-victimizing a victim, that's compatible with membership in the church. But talking about how you've been victimized by these people in an anonymous blog, that you crossed the line. That's not compatible with membership in this church. Again, they just keep telling on themselves. They just are digging a deeper hole with this letter. And then they quote the first principle of Unitarian Universalism. We covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And apparently the way I characterize fellow church members and others in my blog, it's not consistent with this principle. Again, I'm describing what these people do or have done to me. Their actions, assaulting me, lying about me, defaming me, slandering me, gossiping about me, those are totally cool. according to this church. We're fine with that stuff. But you describing what they did to you in an anonymous blog, you've crossed the line. Ekho. Okay, so if I want to remain a member of this congregation, I must remove I Am Ekho in its entirety from public view and continue further publication in this vein. So they want me to take down my blog describing my abuse. This blog I get every day, emails, texts, phone calls, saying how much it is helping survivors of abuse. Every day I get them. You can log on to my social media pages. Tons of comments. You are helping me to heal. You are helping me to understand what's going on here. You're giving me a words and terms and a name. You're giving me a voice. You're helping me to heal and to understand the abuse I endured. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This church wants me to take that down and shut up and discontinue publication in this vein. So don't talk about your abuse. Further, I have to refrain from further negative comment on current and former church members. So I'm not allowed to speak negatively about current people in the church or former members of the church in public. So I'm not allowed to talk about my ex who assaulted me. I'm not allowed to talk about that. I'm not allowed to talk about the people that I'm likely going to be in lawsuits with because they've defamed me so terribly throughout the community. Not allowed to talk about that. They are protecting the people who harmed me. They are trying to protect these people that have harmed me, either through assault or through defamation. And they're trying to silence me. Furthermore, what I have to also agree to is sitting in confidential listening circles with members of the church. So they want to talk to me in private, and I'm not allowed to say what was said to me to anyone, to include my lawyers. I have to shut up. They are silencing me in every way, shape, and form. They are trying to silence me. And let me tell you, when someone is trying to silence you for speaking your truth, they are the ones in the wrong. I have said I would meet with every member of that church all at the same time in front of everybody, and we could go over what happened. And they won't do it. Instead, they want to silence me, and they want to meet in these confidential, secret little circles. And I'm not allowed to, based on what they say, have any sort of way to defend myself or even to explain what was said and done to me. Okay. Unless I'm willing to take these steps, I'm going to be removed from the church. Then they say, we certainly don't want this to be the case. We hope you'll do the right thing and take your blog down and shut up and stop talking about the abuse you endured and stop talking about how awful we've been to you. But if you're not, then the most appropriate action would be for you to resign your membership. And they signed it. And I just emailed back. I said, I'm not going to resign, and I'm going to continue to use my voice and tell my story. And whenever they sent me the letter kicking me out of the church, they put in quotations my words for why they're kicking me out of the church, because I will continue to use my voice and tell my story. And that's exactly what I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to continue to use my voice and tell my story. Thank you, Ekho.